Hello there. Welcome, everyone. It's Medical Monday, and welcome to your brand new episode of Should You Take That Case? The goal here, as always, is to be a resource for legal professionals who pursue medical cases by sharing their experiences and insights as defense or plaintiff attorneys. It's me. I'm your host, Lisa Wade, friendly neighborhood legal nurse consultant, owner of Wade Nurse Consultants, and creator of our wonderful LinkedIn group, the Attorney Medical Record Resource Group. That's where we get all of our wonderful attorney guests that we interview each week. And as I mentioned, owner of Wade Nurse Consultants. Think of us when you have those tons and tons of medical records that you need translated into normal human language, easily understood by judges and juries. And visit us at wadenurseconsultants.com. This show is usually a opportunity that we use to get to know each other, and our plan is to do that today with Scott Camassar from Connecticut. But first, we want to visit the chat and see if anybody is visiting us live today. Come on over to that chat, put an A in there if you are an attorney, put a P if you are a paralegal, an L if you're a legal assistant, but put a W if you are part of a wonderful group that I am a part of, Women Owned Law. It is a wonderful group, and it's a groundbreaking group created to connect and advance women legal entrepreneurs. So if that's something that you are interested in, pop on over to womenownedlaw.org and join up. I want to thank everybody that has taken time out of their very busy days to be with us. And Scott Camassar from Connecticut is not quite here yet. So, what we're going to do is I'm going to tell you all a little bit about Wade Nurse Consultants and what we do here. And hopefully, Scott will be here shortly. So, without any further ado, without a review and summary of medical records, it may be harder for you personal injury or medical malpractice attorneys to know if they should take that case. And here at Wade Nurse Consultants, we give attorneys a 1 to 2 page synopsis and opinion regarding the merits of those medical cases, using my 30 plus years of nursing experience to make quick work of those medical case screenings. So, if you are watching this and you have your own nurse paralegal on the payroll, this isn't for you. But if you have a large backlog of those medical case screenings on your desk, or there's some medical issues and topics that you need to get clarity on and free yourself to focus on the legal strategies involved in your litigations, this is what you do next. Right now, we are offering a free 20-minute medical record strategy call, and that's going to help you hone an efficient, timely, and cost effective routine around your medical cases. So, in the chat, you'll find a link where you can schedule that medical record strategy call, schedule a consultation, and you can get your medical case screenings all done. Now it's time to scoot over here and see if it looks like Scott is still not available. It may be some technical issues. So, what we usually do when our guest is indisposed, we turn this into A legal nurse consultant Q&A day. So, if you have any questions on your mind, whether you're watching on the replay or whether you're watching live, put them in the comments section. The questions most people want to know about legal nurse consultants is if they complete those chronological timelines that help attorneys summarize those medical records in an organized chronological way. And yes, we do that. We create those timelines and they can help you navigate thousands and thousands of pages of medical records, uh, broken down into a small, concise timeline. We do that on a regular basis. And another question that I am usually asked is, Lisa, do legal nurse consultants, can they help you, help attorneys find testifying or consulting experts to support medical cases? And absolutely. So if you require a orthopedic surgeon or a cardiovascular surgeon or an oncology specialist to help support those malpractice or medical personal injury cases, definitely I can locate those expertise for you that will be the key support for those cases. And one more check for Scott Camassar. Let me take a peek and see if Scott has given us any messages that lets us know that he's on his way. And I don't see any right now. So I think this is still going to be a legal nurse consultant Q&A day. And I'm ready for any other questions that you have about legal nurse consultants and what they do. So I have no questions in the comments at the moment, but I do have a little bit more information about Wade Nurse Consultants and what our legal nurse consultants can do, giving a little clarity around legal nurse consulting. And because everybody does not always know or is always completely clear about what legal nurse consultants do, so I'll make it clear for you today. At Wade Nurse Consultants, it's all about review, research, and roadmaps. When we review medical records, we summarize and translate that information into human language, easily understood by judges and juries. And when we research, we complete medical literature searches regarding topics attorneys may not be familiar with or need more in depth details to convey more complex concepts to a judge or jury. And we create roadmaps for injured clients in the form of life care plans detailing their future medical needs over their lifetimes, including estimated costs of that care. To recap, Legal Nurse Consultants at Wade Nurse Consultants is all about review, research, and roadmaps. Now, again, you'll find in the comments section a link to schedule a free 15-minute medical case strategy call. Click on that calendar link and schedule a consultation. One more check on Scott Camassar. Let's take a look. All right. We're seeing if Scott from Connecticut is making his way over here. Things happen sometimes, unexpected things. So, unfortunately, it looks like Scott is not going to make it here today. Uh, like I said, it's a Q&A kind of day. If you have legal nurse consulting questions, uh, and I can answer those for you now, Or you can reach me on my email, Lisa at wadenurseconsultants.com. When you have, like I said, tons of medical records that come in, and you need to get them organized, sorted, and you need to find all the specific details that are going to help you get the most out of your cases. Uh, oh, and Scott's having a little technical difficulty and it's not letting him in. So let's see. I'm gonna send Scott one more time the link to join us, and let's see if it's gonna happen. But like I said, if those questions are coming to mind, any questions that you have for Scott, uh, put them in the chat. And hold on, any questions for me, you can put those in the chat. And here we go. We're trying this one more time. Thanks for your patience out there. Nothing like being live. Nothing like being live. All right. So we're trying to get Scott on here, and it just might happen. So let's let's see. Thanks again for your patience. And let me just say, we're almost, it's almost a possibility. So any more questions? Anybody thinking any questions, please pop them into the comments section, and hopefully Scott will be here shortly. But in the meantime, let me just tell you a little bit more about what we do here at Wade Nurse Consultants. Another option is, there's Scott. I see him. So what I'm going to do now is take all of that back, and I'm going to uh, introduce Scott. Just a one more second. Let me tell you a little bit about him. Attorney Scott Camassar has been handling personal injury, medical malpractice, and wrongful death cases for 27 years. He graduated magna cum laude from University of Connecticut in 1992 and earned his law degree in 1995 from West New England University School of Law, where he was an editor for the Western New England Law Review. He currently practices law with partner Stephen M. Reck in North Stonington, Connecticut. And here's Scott. Stephen M. Reck. Oh, North. Oh, boy. I keep hearing myself, Scott.
Yeah. I'm not sure.
How are you? Oh, I think you got an open window somewhere of me talking. So maybe you have to close some windows. An open window somewhere of me talking. So maybe you have to close some windows. An open window somewhere of me talking. So
Hang on.
maybe you have to close some windows. An open window somewhere. Okay. I'm gonna mute that a minute. Oh, wait a minute. I think you muted me. I think you muted yourself, Scott. Yeah, I think you muted yourself that time. Because I can't unmute you for some reason. Well, isn't technology wonderful? It would be more wonderful if it worked. Right? Oh, now you're a little frozen, Scott. Well, this is partially exciting or unusual, or let's see. All right, I think I'm gonna submerge Scott Yes, and he may try one more time, but thanks for hanging in there. Thanks for hanging in there. So, what do we suggest for things like that? Again, like I said, let if you have any questions about what legal nurse consultants do, how they can be helpful for personal injury, medical malpractice, uh, even disability or workers' comp attorneys for sorting through medical records, visit us at wadenurseconsultants.com. And let's see. I think we're going to try one more time for Scott. Let's see. All right. Okay, Scott, how you doing?
My goodness.
Oh,
First of all, I am so sorry about all the technical difficulties I
things
had
happen. Oh,
here.
oh, you're a little pixelated,
My
Scott.
goodness. Oh no. Well, it's North
Oh
Stonington, so
no.
we don't have very good internet out here.
Oh no, it's right. Oh, Scott,
Yeah.
Scott. Okay, let's try one more time. How's the weather in Connecticut?
Well, not great. That might be part of the problem.
I
So
see.
it's a little stormy out there, but I
All
don't know.
right, all right.
How about where you are?
Oh well, we're in Pennsylvania, just like Philadelphia, so it's less steamy, so that's good.
Good,
I
good.
like it. All right, Scott. Thank you for struggling and getting on here. So let me ask you a few questions. Um,
Sure, go
you know,
ahead.
we're going to talk about medical records, and because that's what I love to talk about. But before we do that, tell me more about you and how did you get into this law thing and this this injury malpractice kind of area too, but you could tell me what made you into a lawyer, so
Sure, sure. So I graduated law school in 1995, and I was already married at the time. Didn't have a job. We got married in March. I graduated in May. I took the bar in July, and the job market wasn't great. So I took the first offer that came my way, and it was a personal injury firm. And I've just been doing it ever since.
all right, well, it sounds like you just kind of fell into it.
Yeah, basically, interestingly enough, torts was my favorite class in law school, but I was pretty open-minded at the time, and I'm from southeastern Connecticut, so I wanted to stay local and applied to a couple of firms, and one of them was a personal injury firm. The other, they had various practice areas, but I think the position I was interviewing for was for trust and estates, which in hindsight, I'm glad I didn't do because I probably would have hated it. But I took the first offer because I needed to work. I started a week later.
All right, all right. Well, now how do you get the cases you work on? How do you pick and choose? How do you know what's a good case to take, or maybe something that you should refer out somewhere else?
Sure, sure. So, well, a lot of times you don't know necessarily at the outset whether it's a good case or a bad case, but uh, you know, typically what we're looking for is liability and damages. So, we want cases where people get hurt through no fault of their own, obviously, and we're particularly on malpractice cases, we're looking for cases where there's a permanent injury. You don't always know that at the outset, but you have a pretty good idea whether whether it's going to be potentially a serious injury or not. So those are the main considerations. But on the malpractice cases too, we've got it's not enough to prove negligence, and it's not enough to prove an injury. You've got to prove that the malpractice caused the injury. So that's always the big piece on the medical malpractice cases is the causation aspect. A lot of times, it's a lot of times, even if you can prove negligence, sometimes you've got a hard time proving, the causation piece. And so that's where the experts obviously come into play. But so that's what we're looking for. Can we prove all the elements of our case?
All right, excellent. Now, when those records, medical records, start flowing in, and there's tons of them, what kind of method or protocol or process do you have in place to manage them?
So we're a small firm. I mean, if it's a small case, like a pretty straightforward, personal injury case, if there's not a lot of records, you know, we'll we'll often just rely on our staff or paralegal to do a medical summary of the case. But on a more complicated case, or in particular a medical malpractice case, I like to get a nurse review to kind of organize it. Let me know if there's any particular issues that maybe I wasn't thinking of from a medical perspective that can make a difference in terms of how we work up the case or prove the case. um, and they can let us know if we're missing records, because it's not always apparent to us that hey, you're missing nursing notes, or something in particular. um,
Mhm.
so that's what I like to do. I mean, I used to just in the malpractice cases, I used to just kind of figure out what's the expert I need. In Connecticut, we have to have what's called a similar healthcare provider do the merit review. So, for example, if it's a plastic surgeon, we've got to look at their board certification and figure out what's their board certification, and then we got to get an expert with the same credentials. And so often I would just kind of identify that person, send the records, to have them tell us, is it a case, is it not a case? But I've gotten to the point, gradually over time where, before I even do that, I want to have a nurse go through it first and let me know if he or she thinks we've got a case, and what are some of the issues that we look for. Because it just helps with your understanding. I mean, I'm not a doctor. I've been doing injury related cases for 27 years, but I'm not a doctor, and there's a lot more that I don't know than what I do know. So someone with a nursing background can really help us get organized and figure out which way, what we need to do, and other things that maybe we weren't thinking of when we first took a look at the case.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm right behind you, Scott. Sometimes it's just could be one tiny entry, one little timestamp that could tell you that that case is, a good case, or it's no case at all.
Right.
So I gotcha. Uh, and sometimes, when you're looking through piles and piles of records, one little tiny entry could make or break the whole thing, and it could be easily missed. So I see why you would get a nurse to follow up for you. And when you do, work on those medical records yourself, is there any particular pet peeve or annoyance that you find in trying to read them and understand them and go through them?
Well, I tell you honestly, lately the whole thing has been annoying with medical records. I've noticed ever since COVID, it's just taking forever just to get the records. And in spring of 2020, people are working from home, offices are closed. So I could understand why it was taking longer than normal. But it's
Mhm.
not spring 2020 anymore, and it still seems to take just as long to get the records these days. And
Mhm.
often, we're waiting months sometimes to get records sent to us. And then to add to that frustration, we come to find out that they didn't send us everything that we asked for. Like we send a letter clearly requesting the complete chart, and we don't get the complete chart for reasons that I don't understand, because,
Mhm.
it's electronic and someone should just be able to push a button, right? And print it or whatever, put it on the disk. I don't know what the problem is. I don't understand it. So
Mhm.
it's really gotten to the point where, if someone comes to me with a potential case and it's within a year of the statute of limitations, I'm actually starting to like think twice about taking it because it's taken us so long to get the records, and then you
Uh,
got to get an expert to review them. I mean, it's just a really, really time consuming process. And you don't want to be running up against the statute of limitations before you figure out if you have a case.
mhm.
So so that's been frustrating. And then with the electronic records, I find that there's so much duplication. I don't understand, what that's all about either. But we just seem to read the same stuff over and over and over, and 1,000 pages of records. Like, I feel like 700 would have been enough if we didn't have to like keep reading, rereading some of this stuff. And then
Mhm.
it's there's entries where they're clearly from a template, and sometimes the templated responses aren't clear. It's just there's a lot of confusion I find in medical records these days. I mean, you know, they went to electronic in part to eliminate the problem of illegible handwriting. Well, now you've got typewritten stuff that you can read, but you still can't understand it. So someone with your background obviously can help us out in that regard.
That's true. That's true. I can weed out all the fluff, that unnecessary stuff. So that is that's an advantage for you folks, you attorneys. So I'm so glad that you got here and talked to us today. So you've given wonderful information, and I'm just trying to see, is there any final kind of advice that you would give to newbie or veteran attorneys deciding if they should take those medical cases that come their way?
Yeah. Well, like I just mentioned, the statute of limitations, is always, from my perspective, one of the biggest things you got to be concerned about. Sometimes people come to us, they don't really know, I mean, I've had people come to us where, they don't really even know exactly what happened. So they can't tell us exactly what happened. They just know they were in the hospital, and then a series of events happen. So sometimes even when you open a file, you don't necessarily know what the operative date is for that statute of limitations,
Mm,
who you're going to be suing. So you don't want to, take on one of these things if the potential date is too close, because, you got to have enough time to get the records, get it looked at, figure out if you've got a case or not. And you don't want to like figure out that it's not a case when it's 1 month before the statute of limitations, and now the client doesn't have a chance to get another opinion or whatever. So that's one thing, is to be cognizant of what your statute date is, and is it fast approaching. Obviously you got to figure out who's at fault, and if anyone, is there negligence? Did it cause the injury? And can you prove a permanent injury, um, that was caused by the negligence? All these things are the factors you've got to really look at before you know if it's a case you want to be involved in. I mean, we get so many referrals now from other lawyers that don't want to do malpractice cases because these cases are so time consuming and so expensive to work up. Just to figure out if you even have a case, you've got to spend money. You've got to, pay a
mm,
nurse and or a doctor, or more than one doctor sometimes, to review the records just to figure out if you can proceed. So a lot of attorneys, don't want to bother with this kind of stuff, and so we get a lot of med mal referrals from other lawyers. Um, so it's harder and harder, for injured people to find people to even lawyers to even take their case. So and some lawyers that do it only want to take what they think is $1 million case. I mean, we'll take the smaller malpractice cases as long as we can prove what we need to prove. And um, so that's why we find ourselves pretty busy with this kind of work. Most people don't realize medical malpractice is the third leading cause of death in this country. I keep telling people that, and they keep, acting like they've never heard it, or they're shocked, and it is shocking, but a lot of people don't know that. So there's a lot of work out there, but you got to make sure that that you can that you've really got a meritorious case before you go down that path. So that's where nurses like yourself can really be a big help. So
Yeah, yeah, because it sounds like you having a chronological list that has all the pertinent dates in it is something that you would need to just decide if you should take a case, or if it is a case, or if it has any merit, that you need that. Sounds like you need it like right at the beginning.
yep, definitely.
Well, I'll be happy to do that for you, Scott, if
All
if you
right.
come
Well,
up.
I look forward to working with you as well. So uh,
Oh, well,
we'll
that's good.
be in touch for sure.
Oh, well, thank you for coming today. Thank you. And my
Thanks for
last
having me.
question for you, will you come again?
Oh, I'd like to. I certainly would. And I'll be better prepared technologically to get on time. I'm so sorry for making you late
Oh,
well, you
these
weren't late.
things
I was late,
happen.
but
It,
the
it's all good. It's all
all
good,
right.
Scott.
Well,
Live
I
and
appreciate that. I
learn. Live
appreciate it.
and
I
learn.
pride myself on being punctual, and as you know, I told you I would be on at 5:15, and I think it was closer to 5:30 by the time we figured this out. But
You made it. That's all that matters.
all right. Well, thank you. I'll be ready the next time for
Oh,
sure.
perfect, perfect. Well, I think we're going to wind up for today, Scott. But I just have reminders for anybody out there that's watching us now or catching us on the replay to like us, like this show, subscribe to this channel, and if you have any legal nurse consulting questions, email me, Lisa at wadenurseconsultants.com, and you'll find, if you have any questions for Scott, you're going to find his comment. I'm sorry, you're going to find his contact information inside the description box of this YouTube channel. Reach out to him with your questions, and catch us next week for a brand new episode of Should You Take That Case? Thanks.
Thanks, Lisa. Bye now.
Bye.